GoPro drones, Twitter to monetize everyone, and my favorite gadget gift guide of all time. Tech News Tonight is next.
This is Twit.
This is Tech News Tonight, episode 484 for Thursday, December 10th, 2015. This episode is brought to you by Blue Apron. Blue Apron will send you all of the ingredients to cook fresh, delicious meals with simple step-by-step instructions right to your door. See what's on the menu this week and get your first 2 meals free by going to blueapron.com/twit. That's blueapron.com/twit. Welcome, I am Megan Morrone. Let's get to the tech news. Behind all of Facebook's puppy videos and complicated relationship status updates is a deep and complex artificially intelligent machine learning server codenamed Big Sur. One of the tasks Facebook uses for this AI is slurping up all of the times people tagged other people in photos and crunching this data so the company now has all of our face prints. So thanks. That is also how Facebook decides which puppy photos and relationship status updates that you want to see first based on your previous activity. Today, Facebook announced that it will soon release the hardware design for a server it uses to train artificial intelligence software so the rest of us can use AI to build similar systems. When I say us, I mean people much smarter than I am. This is not unlike Google open sourcing its DeepMind AI software last month. It's awesome, but few people know what to do with it or have the computing power to do anything with it. But when they do, Facebook is betting that they will benefit from whatever is eventually created. Congrats to Marissa Meyer on the birth of her twin girls who arrived early this morning, just a day after she did a day's worth of TV and newspaper press interviews about the company's reverse spin-off plan. Next, I'm hoping to see that welcome to the world letter to her girls on Tumblr, where she gives away all of their money. Rumors that Apple might buy GoPro caused the flailing camera stock to surge 16% today. GoPro also released an Apple Watch app that lets you control your GoPro from your wrist. And they put out a teaser video for a drone called Karma that you won't get to buy until 2016. In other drone news, DJI said today they're working with a company that designs and manufactures thermal imaging infrared cameras to create a quadcopter that can see in the dark. The Chinese startup says the thermal imaging-equipped drone will be able to help fight fires, survey crops, and conduct search and rescue operations. Also, it will be awesome to play with. Now, who is not getting into the self-driving car business these days? Google, Tesla, Samsung, possibly Apple, and now Baidu, the ultra-popular Chinese search engine. Baidu says their autonomous car, a modified BMW 3 Series, has successfully completed rigorous, fully autonomous tests on one route with mixed roads under a variety of environmental conditions. According to a press release, the road tests were carried out under complex road conditions and managed to respond accurately to the driving environment. Coming up, Kurt Wagner from Recode is here to talk Twitter. But first, this episode is brought to you by Blue Apron. I know everything there is to know about robot-eating sharks, Elon Musk, and why the Facebook algorithms think you want to see those cute puppy videos. But sadly, I do not know how to cook. But no worries, I have Blue Apron. For less than $10 per meal, Blue Apron delivers all of the fresh ingredients you need to create home-cooked meals. Each meal can be prepared in 40 minutes or less. You can prepare meals like seared steaks and mashed potatoes with braised red cabbage and apples, or catfish tacos and coleslaw with spicy roasted sweet potatoes. Recipes are between 500 and 700 calories per portion. Right now, you can get your first 2 meals free just by going to blueapron.com/twit. Check out this week's menu and get your first 2 meals free by going to blueapron.com/twit. And we thank Blue Apron for their support of Tech News Tonight. Tweets can inspire the world, end careers, and change the course of political elections. But according to Wall Street, Twitter just doesn't have enough registered or logged in users to make the kind of money that Facebook makes. All that might have changed today. Joining us to explain the big change Twitter made is Kurt Wagner, reporter at Recode. Welcome, Kurt,
Hey,
and happy birthday to you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
How does it feel to share a birthday with Marissa Meyer's twins?
It's what I've always kind of hoped would happen, and it finally did. The stars are truly aligning, so that is fun.
So what was the announcement that Twitter made today?
So this is a big announcement for people who pay close attention to Twitter. Those people who use Twitter all the time probably aren't really going to notice a whole lot, but the announcement is that Twitter's now going to start showing ads to people who don't have Twitter accounts. And that's a big deal because for the longest time, as you mentioned, people have criticized Twitter for not having a large enough user base. And their argument has always been, well, even though we don't have as many people who have Twitter accounts as we might like, a ton of people actually see tweets and a ton of people come to Twitter to read tweets, even if they don't log into their account. And up until now, Twitter hasn't been making any money off of those people. So a lot of people are reading Twitter content, but Twitter's not showing them ads. And today that's kind of the first step towards starting to do that. So if you don't have a Twitter account, but you click on a tweet and say maybe a Google search result, you might go to, for example, Megan. They might show up at your profile and they might see an ad while they're there. So even though they don't have a Twitter account, Twitter's still making money off of that person. And so, Wall Street seems pretty excited because this is a chance for Twitter to actually make a lot more money than their user base may have originally let them do.
So now the way it works now is that if I'm going through my Twitter stream and I see ads that are presumably directed at me based on who I follow and what I tweet. Did they get any other information from me besides those two things to target me with ads?
Well, they took a lot of signals. I think that those were the big ones, right? Like, what are you saying and who are you following? I think it'd be like, who are you engaging with, right? What are you retweeting? What are you favoriting? What are you clicking on? Maybe what videos are you watching? So there's a lot of stuff that as a logged in user, they can kind of track and because you have an account and you're logged in, they know that that's you or the person running that account is doing these things and gets an idea of what you're like. Some people add their birthday to their profile, so there's like little things like that as well, their location. But for the most part, if you're coming in from a Google search, they don't know anything about you. So what they're saying is that, hey, these ads are still valuable and we can still make money from them because much like how Google's been making ad dollars all these years is that they take search context, right? Intent. So if I go to Google and I'm searching for a black jacket and I go and look at a tweet, they don't know that I'm Kurt and that I care about sports and tech, but they know that I was looking for a black jacket, and that intent is monetizable, right? They can show me ads that may be relevant to that search that I made. So that's how they feel that they can get around the fact that they're not going to be able to target advertise in the same way that they normally do with their Twitter users.
So the way that it used to work or the way that it worked in the past before I know this maybe isn't launched yet. Has it been launched yet? Are they already doing this?
So today's kind of the beginning of the test. They've talked about it a lot. They've said, hey, this is potential for us. We're going to do it at someday in the future. At their last earnings call in October, they were like, we're going to do it sometime before the end of the year. So we knew this was coming. But this is really the first time that they're going to be doing it. And it is, as with almost everything that these companies roll out, it's going to be slow, right? So you may not even notice it. And I assume you have an account, so you probably would never even notice it. But for people who don't have an account, they might not notice it right away. It's going to be a slow rollout.
So if I go to your Twitter stream, like if I look up your name and I go, not looking at the tweets in my stream that you tweet, but if I go there, will I see? I don't see your ads that are targeted towards you. Do I see my ads that are targeted towards me?
Exactly. So they've been advertising on, and I assume, correct me if I'm wrong here, but I assume you're talking about like going to someone else's profile, right? So if you go look at my page with all the tweets that I have shared, you would get an ad probably somewhere in that feed of tweets that is going to be targeted to you. And they started doing that. Those are ads on, that would be my profile. So that would be an ad on my profile. And they started doing that, I want to say back in February. So they've been doing this for logged in users now for coming up on a year. They just hadn't been doing it for logged out users. And one little nuance, and I believe this is still the case, when they first rolled out those kind of on profile ads, it did not work. They would not show an ad to someone when they visited a verified profile. And so for you coming and visiting my page, my account is verified. I don't really, that doesn't really mean a whole lot. But for example, say you visit LeBron James's account page. LeBron has all kinds of endorsement deals with Nike and other companies. Like the last thing LeBron wants is for you to be seeing Adidas ads on his profile page. So I think that is why they eliminated or excluded verified accounts from that test, but normal folks who don't have the blue check mark, they do have ads on their page.
Yeah, I mean, that's what one of the things that I found confusing. I mean, I think Twitter is generally confusing to most people. That's one of its criticisms. But the first time I saw those ads, I thought, oh, is that person figuring out a way to monetize their own Twitter stream? Because, that's interesting, because that's just, that's the way Blogger worked. That's the way, it was just like the people got paid. You get paid for those ads. That's how people were supporting themselves. And I thought, oh, well, that must be what they're doing on Twitter. But that's not how it works.
No, those are ads for you. Those are specially picked and selected just for you. I think that's an interesting idea, right? Like, why shouldn't LeBron James be able to put a Nike ad on his profile and take some of that revenue, right? Maybe split it with Twitter or split it with Nike, or I guess it would be with Twitter. Because when they exclude the verified accounts from this test, arguably those are the accounts that are going to get the most traffic, right? Like LeBron, a lot of people go to see what LeBron James is talking about. And so when there's no ads on his page because they don't want to step on any endorsement deal toes, that creates I think a missed opportunity. So I think you bring up a good point. As far as I know, that's not anything that they have done or are planning to do. But in the future, that could be a really fascinating idea, is to try and kind of encourage the users themselves to get involved.
So from a business perspective, this is about numbers. It's about Wall Street. The big thing all investors were scared about is like, we only have this many registered users. So right. Are they kind of redefining what a user means? I mean, the way it used to be like page views, essentially?
Yeah, Twitter's been trying to do that for quite a while, actually. I mean, they've been dealing with the whole notion that they're too small for basically since they went public. I guess it was probably 2 years ago. And so what they've been trying to do is say, hey, the MAU metric, the monthly active user metric that Facebook is kind of cemented as the core unit for all of these social networks, like that doesn't apply to Twitter, because our tweets are almost all public and they're all over the place, right? Like, you don't have to have a Twitter account and you could be watching CNN and you're going to see tweet material. You're going to see tweets. So you're going to see them on ESPN and CBS. And so Twitter for the longest time has been trying to paint this picture that our logged in audience is just one small part of who our full audience is. And I think in theory that was always like, okay, we kind of get it, I understand, but they weren't making money from those people. So it was always just kind of a shrug, right? It was like, well, you say your audience is bigger, but you're not monetizing that audience, so it doesn't really matter. Now they're starting to do that. So I think their theory or their pitch that they're much bigger than the 320 million people who have accounts is finally starting to come to fruition a little bit with this announcement.
So this week they also began testing a timeline that goes out of order. So right now with Twitter, the way Twitter works, they have the while you were out kind of feature that sometimes shows up, but basically. You just see tweets as they're tweeted, which can be overwhelming depending on how many people you follow. But if you really use Twitter for news, for breaking news, having it go out of order makes me crazy. Why would they do that?
Yeah, it's making other people crazy too. This has been, so there's a few distinct characteristics of the Twitter product, right? One is 140 characters. All tweets have to kind of be confined in this one box. We've talked about this before, but they're working on, potentially changing that or building something that lets you tweet longer things. One of the other key kind of characteristics of the product, though, is that everything was in reverse chronological order. So the newest tweets always appeared at the top of your stream. And so what they're doing, as you pointed out, is they're kind of tinkering around with mixing that order a little bit. So they're clearly using some kind of algorithm. They're not talking about what exactly that algorithm looks like or what goes into it, but they're using some kind of algorithm to determine, well, this tweet, is pretty far down on your timeline, but we think you're going to want to see it. So we're going to actually insert it higher up to make sure that, in case you don't scroll all the way down, you're still going to see it. And, they do this in all kinds of different ways. The whole point is they think they have a ton of great content on Twitter, which in a lot of ways is true. And it gets buried by the fact that if you follow, 1,000 people who are all tweeting throughout the day, it's hard for one specific thing to stand out. And so what Twitter's trying to do is say, we're we're going to find the great stuff for you. We're going to insert it higher up, even though it screws up the order. We're going to insert it higher up to make sure that you see it, because you're going to come back to Twitter more often if you see good stuff. And so that, in a nutshell, is what they're trying to figure out. But some people are not going to be happy with mixing with the order.
So they're doing it for us, for our own good, and also, like you say, because then we'll come back and look at more ads. But are they also doing it sort of so they can put more ads in there so that we're more discombobulated, so it's more confusing? Are they doing it to make more space? If it's already as confusing as Facebook is, or as nebulous as Facebook is never in order, that's part of it. So is that maybe why they're doing it too, just to put more ads in there?
In a weird way, I would think that, imagine if every time you logged into Twitter, all the best tweets were right at the top. You wouldn't have any real reason to scroll down, right? If you trust the algorithm and you believe that, hey, Twitter's actually showing me the 10 best tweets that happened since last time I opened the app. And they're trying to do that, as you pointed out at the very beginning, this while you were away feature that they have. That's kind of what they try to do. In theory, you could open the app once every 3 hours, read the 10 best tweets and say, all right, cool, I'm out of here, and get back out. And you wouldn't scroll down, and actually you might see fewer ads than you would have otherwise. So I don't necessarily think this is an ad thing so much as it is we want you to think this product is useful. And if you think it's useful, you're going to continually open the app and come back more and more and more. I don't think that, moving one or two tweets higher up in the feed is necessarily going to mean more ads. I hope they're not trying to confuse us. That would be super frustrating. That would, the thought of purposely trying to confuse the user base would, I wouldn't put it past any tech company, but man, I can't imagine that would be a very good strategy. So hopefully that's not what they're thinking here, but I've been surprised before.
Right, because that's the idea. The more coming at you, the more your decision making gets all crazy, and you just buy everything.
Yeah, I guess it's maybe all those ads that if all the tweets they're putting higher up are tweets with buy buttons and promoted tweets, well then, okay, maybe so. It feels like it's going to be, hopefully good tweets, good content that they think you're going to want to see. Otherwise, they're doing it wrong. I can tell you that.
Well, lots of people in our chat room are highly recommending Tweetbot. So I don't know if you use that. I just go to the Twitter site. I
don't. But did you say Tweetbot?
Yeah.
So most people that I know are TweetDeck loyalists. I'm not a TweetDeck person either, but the ability to have all the unique feeds, so you can kind of parse everything and categorize everything, is a pretty big deal, especially when you follow a lot of people. So I know, especially people in the journalism world, they seem to use it. I don't use it. Maybe I'm missing out on something, but a lot of my colleagues do.
Yeah, we've got some TweetDeckers in the chat room as well.
Yeah.
Well, Kurt, thank you so much for coming on, especially on your birthday. Kurt Wagner is a reporter at Recode and at Kurt Wagner 8 on Twitter. Happy birthday.
My pleasure. Thanks so much. Have a good one.
You too. And finally tonight, the holiday season would not be complete without gadget gift guides from every media outlet out there, including Twit. But my favorite tech gadget guide, hands down, has always been The Onion. This year, in addition to a wireless fire extinguisher, and a drone that is designed just to carry ballpoint pens, The Onion recommends a stapler that is made by and especially for women. We are really making strides, girls. Check out the full list at theonion.com. And that is it for this edition of Tech News Tonight. Send me your suggestions for this show and for Tech News Today, which I will be hosting for the next few weeks all alone, after which I will be joined by Jason Howell, producer and host of All About Android and Android App Arena. And speaking of apps, you can find a list of third-party Twit apps that you can use to listen to us on all manner of devices. To find out what's out there, go to twit.tv/app. We are also on Facebook and YouTube and Stitcher. You can find the best way to subscribe to this show at twit.tv/TN2. Write to us at TN2 and watch live every weekday at 4 p.m. Pacific. And don't miss our morning news program, Tech News Today, every weekday at 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern. I will be hosting that too. I am Megan Morrone. Thanks for watching.
Bandwidth for Tech News Tonight is brought to you by CashFly.com.